listeners and learners, those who are listening and watching of Science, Commerce, Arts and Engineering, the most honorable President Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, Reverend fathers and mothers of affectionate sons and daughters, I Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily cordially welcome all of you. Your presence is really praiseworthy, admirable and appreciable as you are listening with your 100% present sense of mind, the truth of science to spirituality, language to literature. Dear friends, today learning is an important aspect of life. A person goes on learning one or the other thing from time to time whenever the need arises. I did many courses like painting, sculpturing, dancing and fashion designing, but last year I joined an English course to enhance fluency and remove hesitation in speaking the language. Those students who are preparing themselves for appearing in IELTS examination, and if they are to improve their topic of learning English, how should they start? They can imagine through these ideas and thoughts that are being presented in your service. I studied the course at Achievers, the Education Hub, Panchkula. When I completed my graduation and decided to start my professional career in corporate sector, I found that the major limitation was speaking in English. Though I studied in an English medium school, but I hesitated to speak English fluently. So I decided to join an English speaking course. The course was complete package of learning English. It included grammar, vocabulary, speaking, which included art of conversation, improving oratory skills, group discussions, presentations, along with personality development. I liked the course because it covered all the aspects of English through different techniques like smart board teaching, conversations, presentations, learning through games, multimedia, etc. I liked the conversation course most. It really helped me to remove my fear of English hesitation while speaking, and it increased my confidence. Overall, the course helped me a lot, and presently I am able to speak English fluently. Although the course improved my speaking in English, it has helped me in my job also. Presently, I am working in a multinational company as a senior trainer. Due to my conversation skills, I meet international trainers and my company prefers to send me overseas on different company projects. Overall, I can say that the English course was really helpful to me for my personal as well as professional growth. Dear friends, you know that our Indian land is the land of starters, beginners and initiators. Since the time immemorial, in the chapter of the Genesis through the Holy Bible, you will read that how the word came in the form of existence. All the holy religions of our holy land, all the holy scriptures that are written by holy persons to be read by man for knowing the truth of science to spirituality, language to literature. It is really helpful for all our learners, those who are busy in improving their skills. reading, writing, speaking English. It will help them in knowing the truth of IELTS, language, literature and grammar. Before that, you have studied your fundamentals, basics of English through foundation courses that are very essential. You are listening Profession, which is written by Virginia Woolf, who is the founder, starter of the stream of consciousness technique in the modern technology. Born in 1882, you can remember this incident through 1857. It was the first battle which was started by Indians for their freedom. Woolf was an English writer. She was among the prominent writers of the modernist with pioneering the narrative device of dream, of stream of consciousness. She is also considered one of the strongest figures of feminism, and her work is cited in many feminist writings. Her most famous works are Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse. Among others, she suffered from deep bouts of depression and passed away after committing suicide by drowning in the year 1941. Professions for women, which is edition of Virginia Woolf, is part of the speech Virginia Woolf gave on January 21, 1931 for the National Society for Women's Service. It was published in the Death of the Moth and Other Essays. Posthumously, the essay addresses women who wish to work in professional fields and how or why it is difficult, because most fields are predominantly male. When your secretary invited me to come here, she told me that your society is concerned with the employment of women and suggested that I might tell you something about my own professional experiences. It is true I am a woman. It is true I am employed, but what professional experiences have I had? It is difficult to say. My profession is literature, and in that profession there are fewer experiences for women than in any other. With the exception of the stage, fewer I mean that are peculiar to women, for the road was cut many years ago by Fanny Burney, by Ephra Behan, by Harriet Martin, by Jane Austen, by George Eliot, many famous women and many more unknown and unforgotten have been before me, making the path smooth and regulating my steps. Thus, when I came to write, there were very few material obstacles in my way. Writing was a reputable and harmless occupation. The family peace was not broken by the scratching of a pen. No demand was made upon the family purse. For 10 and 6 pence one can buy paper enough to write all the plays of Shakespeare. If one has a mind that way, pianos and models, Paris, Vienna and Berlin, masters and mistresses are not needed by a writer. Cheapness of writing paper is, of course, the reason why women have succeeded as writers before they have succeeded in the other professionals, other professions. But to tell you my story, it is a simple one. You have only got to figure to yourself a girl in a bedroom with a pen in her hand. She had only to move that pen from left to right, from 10 o'clock to 1. Then it occurred to her to do simple and cheap enough after all, to slip a few of those pages into an envelope, fix a penny stamp in the corner, a drop the envelope into the red box at the corner. It was thus that I became a journalist, and my effort was rewarded on the first day of the following month. A very glorious day it was for me, by a letter from an editor containing a cheque for £1 10 shillings and 6 pence. But to show you how little I deserve to be called a professional woman, how little I know of the struggles and difficulties of such lives, I have to admit that instead of spending that sum upon bread and butter, rent, shoes and stockings, or butcher's bills, I went out and bought a cat, a beautiful cat, a Persian cat, which very soon involved me in bitter disputes with my neighbors. What could be easier than to write articles and to buy Persian cats with the profits? But wait a moment, articles have to be about something mine. I seem to remember was about a novel by a famous man, and while I was writing this review, I discovered that if I were going to review books, I should need to do battle with a certain phantom, and the phantom was a woman. And when I came to know her better, I called her after the heroine of a famous poem, the angel in the house. It was she who used to come between me and my paper when I was writing reviews. It was she who bothered me and wasted my time and to and so tormented me that at last I killed her. You who come of a younger and happier generation may not have heard of her. You may not know what I mean by the angel in the house. I'll describe her as shortly as I can. She was intentionally sympathetic. She was immensely charming. She was utterly unselfish. She excelled in the difficult arts of family life. She sacrificed herself daily. If there was chicken, she took the leg. If there was a drought, she sat in it. In short, she was so constituted that she never had a mind or a wish of her own, but preferred to sympathize always with the minds and wishes of others. Above all, I need not say it, she was pure. Her purity was supposed to be her chief beauty. Her blushes, her great grace. In those days, the last of Queen Victoria, every house had its angel, and when I came to write, I encountered her with the very first words. The shadow of her wings fell on my face. I heard the rustling of her skirts in the room. Directly, that is to say, I took my pen in my hand to review that novel by a famous man. She slipped behind me and whispered, "My dear, you are a young woman. You are writing about a book that has been written by a man. Be sympathetic, be tender, flatter, deceive, use all the arts and wiles of our sex. Never let anybody guess that you have a mind of your own. Above all, be pure." And she made as if to guide my pen. I now recalled the one act for which I take some credit to myself, though the credit rightly belongs to some excellent ancestors of mine who left me a certain sum of money, shall we say £500 a year, so that it was not necessary to depend solely on charm for my living. I turned upon her I turned upon her and caught her by the throat. I did my best to kill her. My excuse, if I were to be had up in a court of law, would be that I acted in self-defense. Had I not killed her, she would have killed me. She would have plucked the heart out of my writing. For as I found directly I put pen to paper, you cannot review even a novel without having a mind of your own, without expressing what you think to be the truth about human relations, morality, sex, and all these questions, according to the angel of the house, cannot be dealt with freely and openly by women. They must charm, they must conciliate, they must, to put it bluntly, tell lies, tell lies if they are to succeed. Thus, whenever I felt the shadow of her wing or the reliance of her halo upon my face, I took up the ink pot and flung it at her. She died hard. Her facetious nature was of great assistance to her. It is far harder to kill a phantom than a reality. She was always creeping back when I thought I had dispatched her, though I flatter myself that I killed her in the end. The struggle was fierce. It took much time that had better have been spent upon learning Greek grammar or in roaming the world in search of adventures. But it was a real experience. Or in a roaming, she would in search of adventure, but it was a real experience. It was an experience that was bound to befall all women writers at that time. Killing the angel in the house was part of the occupation of a woman writer. But to continue my story, the angel was dead. What then remained? What then remained? You may say that what remained was a simple and common object. A young woman in a bedroom with an ink pot. In other words, now that she had rid herself of falsehood, that young woman had only to be herself. But why it is herself? I mean, what is a woman? I assure you, I do not know. I do not believe that you know. I do not believe that anybody can know until she has expressed herself in all the arts and professions open to human skill. That indeed is one of the reasons why I have come here. out of respect for you who are in process of showing us by your experiments what a woman is, who are in process of providing us by your failures and success with the extremely important piece of information. But to continue the story of my professional experiences, I made an I made 1 pound 10 and 6 by my first review, and I bought a Persian cat with the proceeds. So dear friends, rest of the things we will read further. Keep continue your presence. Today we will discuss in the next moment about machines and emotions. Thanks your presence. May God bless all of us.